The Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee will please come to order. Today we are holding a hearing with Secretary of Health and Human Services Javier Becerra, Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, and on how we can help schools across the country as they work to safely reopen for in-person learning. Ranking Member Burr and I will each have an opening statement, and then I will introduce our witnesses, and after they give their testimony, senators will each have 5 minutes for a round of questions. While we are again unable to have this hearing fully open to the public or media for in-person attendance, live video is available on our committee website at help.senate.gov, and if you are in need of accommodations, including closed captioning, you can reach out to the committee or the Office of Congressional Accessibility Services. This pandemic has been incredibly hard on students and families and educators. For over a year, many students were not able to see their teachers or friends or counselors or coaches. Students with disabilities could not get the support they needed. Many students from families with low incomes could not get nutritious school meals. And students without internet at home were left struggling to keep up with the shift to remote learning. Every student's learning was disrupted in some way, and educators and school leaders found themselves trying to meet students' needs through a screen, making their already challenging jobs even tougher. I heard from so many families in Washington State about these challenges and how devastating this crisis has been. My goal since the start of this pandemic has been to get students back in the classroom safely for in-person learning, and I know that has been shared by members of this committee on both sides of the aisle. And while no one thinks our work is done, we have fought to make our goal a reality by working to get relief straight to schools over multiple relief bills in 2020 and critically in the American Rescue Plan last March. This funding has allowed schools to take steps to keep their students safe, like providing masks and tests and improved ventilation, to keep students connected, like making sure they have access to technology and the internet, to accelerate their learning, like offering summer learning and high-quality tutoring, and to help them navigate this incredibly tough time, like increasing mental health resources. And now, according to the CDC, 96% of K-12 public schools are offering full in-person learning. But as the Delta variant has shown us, this pandemic is far from over. We saw nearly 1 million new COVID cases among kids over the past 4 weeks. Pediatric hospitals across the country are running out of beds. And according to CDC, we've seen over 1,800 school closures this school year related to COVID outbreaks, meaning children had their learning once again interrupted and parents had their work plans upended as they needed to take care of their kids. Families are exhausted. Everyone wants to get back to the classroom and stay there. But to get there, we have to continue working to keep students safe. And look, we have more than a year's worth of data now. Public health experts like those at the CDC and in-state and local health departments have made clear what works. Masks, ventilation, physical distancing, testing, and getting everyone vaccinated who's eligible, which is especially important to protect children under 12 who cannot yet get vaccinated. Flexibility. In other words, ensuring school districts have plans to provide high-quality distance learning to all students when necessary to keep them safe. The work the Biden administration has done to promote common-sense public health measures is so important. It's been a relief to have leaders in charge who set an example that public health and safety should not be partisan. It should be part of what you do to protect yourself and to protect others. And I wish every elected official took the same approach. Unfortunately, in too many parts of our country, the basic steps that could keep students and educators and communities safe have been politicized. So much so that instead of promoting basic steps like wearing masks in schools, some Republican governors and state legislators have been trying to outlaw them. Schools have been pushed to this brink by this pandemic, but instead of giving them help, those Republican governors and state leaders are threatening school funding, banning mask requirements, and undermining efforts to get people vaccinated. They're not only ignoring and in some cases denying the fact that we are in a pandemic, they are making denial a badge of honor. Let's be clear, there is nothing honorable about putting kids and educators and their families at risk to score political points. And the risk is real. New data from CDC confirms schools without mask requirements are 3.5 times more likely to have a COVID outbreak, while COVID case rates in school districts with mask requirements are half that of those without them. For anyone truly concerned about public health and safety, there should be no question about putting that real-world data into practice, because this is not a game to the school leaders who are being threatened and harassed for doing the right thing. It's not a game to students who want to be able to go to school without contracting a deadly disease that could hurt them or a family member who's immunocompromised or a sibling who's too young yet to be vaccinated. And it is not a game to parents who want to be able to put their kids on the school bus without worrying they are putting their child at risk. They are counting on policymakers to take this pandemic seriously. Now, looking down the dais here today, I know there are a lot of perspectives on COVID-19 represented here, but I hope all of us can send a message that the basic public health measures we need to help kids keep safe and learning in school should not be political. They should be American, because we still have a lot of work ahead to get our schools and students through this pandemic, and we've got to do it together. Everyone eligible who has not gotten vaccinated should get their shots. States and localities need to keep following the science and doing what works to keep kids safe and learning in school. The Biden administration needs to continue to build on the progress made so far to promote vaccinations, increase testing capacity, and make sure schools and districts have the guidance and the support they need to spend those funds. And our work will not end when this pandemic does. We will all have to work together to repair the damage COVID-19 has done, address students' academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs, and help our schools build back stronger and fairer. That means addressing the sharp drop in enrollment this pandemic caused, the sharp rise in mental health issues among kids, and the fact that COVID has set many students' learning back significantly, particularly students whose families earn low incomes, students of color, English learners, and students with disabilities. It also means addressing the inequities and systemic racism that have long plagued our education system and have made this pandemic so much harder on so many students.